Hello and welcome to the sea. Today I'm trying out the Nikon D70, an entry-level DSLR from the year 2004 with a 6 megapixel CCD sensor in APS-C format. I have been shooting with quite a few of these 6 megapixel DSLRs recently and I've started liking them actually. I mean, it's quite limiting the file size, but I do like the look they have. And you have to be quite careful when shooting because you cannot crop so much afterwards. Yeah, so I'm quite curious to see how the Nikon D70 will perform. My first impression of this camera is that it is an well improved D100. It has almost the same body as the D100. There are some small changes. For example, this red stripe has been moved from here to here, a small change like the Nikon branding. And also the focus selector switch is a bit different. And well, the icon for the play button has been changed. But yeah, so there are really small changes like externally, I would say. Internally, it is much more improved because all of the things that I complained about in the Nikon D100 test that I did a few weeks back, they have, well, mostly fixed those. And the things I was complaining about was, well, that it was a bit slow to use, like slow writing and reading speeds. This is not really a problem anymore. It's quite quick when writing and reading the file, so you can take photos rather fast and also review them quite easily. The camera doesn't get in the way in the shooting process really, so it's quite smooth and responsive in that way. Of course, not smooth compared to modern cameras, but if you're thinking about the camera that came before it. Some weird things still remain. For example, the mirror is still the 35mm sized one, like on the D100, even though the sensor is APS-C size, but I guess it's just a leftover from the F80 since it's still kind of the F80 body. But yeah, it's not a big deal. Let's go and take some photos. I'm once again at this beautiful island location, but the weather is quite moody today. There was some fog earlier, but now it's not, a little bit hazy maybe, but yeah, it might be a bit of a challenge to find some interesting landscape locations or shots. The lenses I'll be using today, well, on the camera I have a Sigma 70-50 2.8 mounted. It's quite a nice normal lens. And I also have, since I want to photograph some landscapes, I also have a telephoto lens, the Nikon AF70 to 210mm. It's not maybe the most, let's say, fancy lens, but it's quite nice on APS-C as a, well, landscape lens. Yeah. And finally I have the 50mm 1.4 Nikon AF. Yeah, I will try to find some interesting autumn colors to photograph with this. Some close-ups perhaps. Almost slipped on the moss there. Super wet and dangerous. Need to be really careful here. It has rained and it's recently and it's so wet under the moss everywhere. Don't want to slip and slide all the way down the cliff to the water. This weather is really difficult to find interesting, let's say, things to photograph. There were some swans earlier here, quite a lot of them, but I don't know, I thought they would still be like hiding here somewhere because this is sort of the edge where the wind is coming. Like here around there is like very calm, so but they're not here, so maybe they went to some other island. I got this camera for extra cheap because it had some issues. The grip was very sticky and, well, that is a common issue with these cameras. Unfortunately, it is very easy to fix. To clean off the sticky old rubber, you just need some alcohol and it doesn't have to be anything fancy either. I just used hand sanitizer and it cleaned it up very well. I might actually have cleaned the grip a bit too well because now it's kind of slippery a little bit maybe, but it's much better than having the sticky grip because that was a bit nasty actually. Yeah. So what is my opinion after having photographed a bit with the Nikon D70? Well, actually it's quite a nice vintage DSLR. I mean, it's supposedly an entry-level camera, but it feels a bit advanced for that, at least compared to later models and also compared to the Canon Rebel models. But yeah, overall it's quite nice to photograph with. It doesn't get in the way, it's not slow, it's quick enough. I didn't have issues with that. And also the image quality for 6 megapixels is quite nice. The colors are well pleasing enough. Dynamic range is well good enough, and yeah, I would actually recommend this camera, at least over the Nikon D100. Also maybe over the Canon 10D, because that camera is still a bit slow. A lot of my photos actually came out a bit underexposed. I think this camera has some problem with the light meter. I think it's this unit in particular, not in general the D70s, so I will look a bit more into that. But for now I have to be a bit more careful and look at the histogram much more carefully when photographing. So yeah, maybe it's just some setting I have wrong, but I'll check more into that. Well, anyway, I think that's enough about this camera for now. Next I'll do some 12 megapixel DSLRs. So yeah, thanks for watching and see you in my next video. Bye!